And we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome again to yet another session of the IELTS reading test. And we're going to be dealing with part 2 of what we've done before in our last Facebook Live session, where we dealt with 5 of the most common answering mistakes in this part of the test. Okay, so if you remember, let me just refresh your memory a little bit. We looked at, I think we stopped at reading for gist, and based on the last lesson that we've had, we took a quick look at these topics here that you think appear in the passage that I have shown you before. Okay, so if you've taken the time to look at the last lesson video, this was the passage that we were looking at to try to identify the topics that are that might occur in the passage. Okay, so I hope you have your answers ready. If you have, that's fantastic. And I hope you have your notebook and your pen handy as well to take down any notes that you might find quite useful as we go along the lesson. Okay, so short answer questions, that's what we're dealing with today. But before we look at that, we'll take a look at whether or not you're able to successfully read for gist. Okay, so what I have asked you to do in the last lesson is to try to say which of these general topics the text covers. So if you have chosen, okay, if you have chosen the growth in the academic study of happiness, I think you have got your answer right. We'll deal with the other answers later, but let's talk about the growth in the academic study of happiness. Where do you think this occurs in the text? So if you've taken a careful look at the text in the video from the previous lesson, you would have been able to identify this in paragraphs 2 and 3. So let's take a look at that now. Okay, this is paragraph 2. Okay, and the topic is on the growth in the academic study of happiness. Where do you think you can find the answer here? Okay, so we've got something related to the study of happiness. It has become a bona fide discipline. Policy advisors are getting interested, and politicians are using the research as the basis for new strategies. So you can see that there's a sort of a growth in the academic study of happiness. And you can also find it in the 3rd paragraph. Let's have a quick skim. Okay, so you can see that the data gathered from this study is I think, yeah, someone says here that it is an exciting area. Okay, so you know that there is some sort of growth in this study, in this discipline, in this study of happiness. So let's go back to the topics again. So you can find this in paragraphs 2 and 3 from the passage. Now, the next answer is the distinction between happiness and overall satisfaction with life. So if you have identified this topic as having appeared in the text, give yourself a pat on the back because this is absolutely correct. Where can we find this distinction between happiness and overall satisfaction with life? Where in the text can you find this? So if you look further at paragraph 4, which is between line 29 to 36. Where can you find the distinction between happiness and overall satisfaction with life? Okay, so we've got something here. Happiness compared with satisfaction. They're talking about the distinction between happiness and satisfaction. So satisfaction would be considered as how satisfied people are with their lives overall and how meaningful they judge their lives to be. So this is a distinction between happiness and their overall satisfaction with life. So the distinction has been mentioned there. Now, the third topic that occurs in the text, let's go back to the topics again. You should have come up with links between wealth, consumerism, and happiness. Okay, so wealth, consumerism, and happiness. That would be this point here. Where can we find that in the text? So, going back to the passage, if you go down further to paragraph 6, so we've got paragraph 3, 4, 5, and 6 and 7. I think paragraph 6 starts at line 50. Links between wealth, consumerism, and happiness. Okay, so we've got something to do with satisfaction related to how successful people are, measured to their particular cultural standard. So here, satisfaction relates to family expectations and meeting social responsibilities. So here we have something to do with happiness, not really so much wealth and consumerism. And then we have the next paragraph here, paragraph 7. Happiness has not risen with average income. So here we've got consumerism. Researchers are putting this down to consumerism and the desire for material goods, which is also related to consumerism, and also wealth, which is, I think, here, average income, money, yeah. So we've got a few key words here that relate to wealth, consumerism, and so on, that occur in paragraph 7 and 6. Okay, so that's where you find the topic. Now, which other topic also occurs in the text? Okay, so if you have finally chosen the topic of cultural attitudes toward happiness, you are absolutely right. So this would be the last one here. Where can we find information on cultural attitudes toward happiness? We can find this in paragraphs 5 and 6. So let's go back to paragraph 5 and 6. So third paragraph, fourth, 5. Okay, this is the fifth paragraph here. Okay, now cultural attitudes toward happiness. So we've got something about different cultures value happiness in different ways. So we've got that as a topic sentence there. We've got Western countries, and we've got collectivist nations of Asia, Asian cultures, Japan as well as an example. So yes, we've got them in paragraphs 5 and 6. So how did you do? Did you get all of the answers right? 4 out of 4. So if you've got 4 points here, If you have correctly read the information, the text for gist, give yourself a clap or a pat on the back. So these are the topics that occur in the text, and the key words were the clues that were shown to tell you where it occurs or where the topics occur in the text. Okay, so before we move on, make sure that you are able to read texts very quickly to get a general idea of what they're about, which is what we've just done. Okay, so that exercise should take you no longer than 2 minutes. Excuse me, 2 to 5 minutes. So make sure that you try to read as quickly as possible and identify the keywords that deal with the topics in the text. Okay, now let's move on to unfamiliar vocabulary. Now, if you look at the text here, you might find that there are some words that can be unfamiliar to some people. Okay, words, for example, like downshifting. Where can we find the word downshifting? So, words like downshifting, gurus, bona fide, risky, all of that. So you need to be able to understand the general meaning of these paragraphs without using your dictionary, or understanding without referring to any, reference material like a thesaurus. So if you're able to identify meaning in context, I think this would be an advantage for you when the real test occurs. Okay, so we're not going to get too bogged down on unfamiliar vocabulary, because what we're going to focus on now are short answer questions. Okay, and let's take a look at an example of a short answer question task, and see if you're able to give correct answers to these. Okay, now usually in the IELTS reading task, when you're given a task such as short answer questions, you need to follow the instructions very carefully. So you can see here that you need to answer these questions with the words from the text. Okay, sorry about that spelling mistake there, not word form, but words from the text, using no more than 3 words for each answer. So when they ask you to give 3 words, do not give 4. You can, of course, give 2 words, that's fine, as long as they're within the maximum word count, which is 3. But even though you may have the correct answer, if you give an extra word, you will lose marks, or that answer will be considered wrong. Now, the other thing about short answer questions is that you have to remember that grammar is not important in IELTS reading short answer questions, because what they want to see, what the test writer wants to see, is whether or not you understand the text that's being given here. So let's take a look at the first question. The first question is, according to the text, what could influence your level of contentment? Okay. Now, I'm going to show you the page, and I would like you to scan and see whether or not you're able to find the answer on that page. Okay, I'm just going to show you the page where you can find the answer. I'm not going to tell you the line number or the paragraph number. So, if you need to write down the questions in note form very quickly, you're welcome to do that. So let's focus on the first one. What could influence your level of contentment? What could influence your level of contentment? And the answer can be found here. Okay, so I'm going to give you maybe a minute to look through this. Okay, so let's take a look at the question again. Let me read to you the question. According to the text, what could influence your level of contentment? Have you found the answer yet? In no more than 3 words. Okay, the answer is here, where you live. Okay, because the global analysis of happiness, blah, 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 shows that the most satisfied people tend to live in Latin America, Western Europe, and North America, whereas Eastern Europeans are the least satisfied. So, what influences your happiness is basically where you live. Okay, that is the factor that influences your happiness. So, let me just go back to the question again. Okay, and put the answer here. According to the text, what could influence your level of contentment? It should be where you live, as you can find in line 6. Okay, so line 5 or line 6. Okay, now again, I'm going to give you a minute to go through the second question. Which group of people is interested in the practical implications of the research into happiness? Now, that's quite a mouthful. You have to understand the question first before you're able to answer this. Which group of people is interested? Okay, I think that should be clear enough. In the practical implications of the research into happiness. So we need to find something that has to do with research into happiness. Practical implications could be the results or the consequences of the research into happiness. So the results of this research. So which group of people do you think is interested in the results of this research into happiness? Okay, you got that? Which group of people would be interested to find out about the results of this research into happiness? So I'm going to go back to the passage where you can find the answer. Okay, somewhere here. A minute to look through this. Okay, I may have to give you an extra minute because I think I've shown you the wrong page. So this is actually the correct page where you can find the answer. So 1 more minute. I'd like you to go through this page and try to find the answer in which what group of people may be interested in the results of the study into happiness. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, I hope you have found the correct information here. So the group of people that should be interested in the results of the academic study into happiness would be the politicians. Okay, so you can find the answer here. Politicians are using the research as the basis for new strategies. So they are getting interested, these government policy advisors who are also the politicians. So they're going to use the results as a basis for new strategies. Okay, so if you write your answer down within 3 words, I think you should be okay there with your marks. So the answer is simply politicians. Okay, politicians. Ignore the line number because I don't think they correspond to the texts that we've been looking at. Okay, let me just get rid of the line numbers here. Okay, finally, where can you find this information? Which 2 factors are researchers able to study in their attempt to find reasons why some people are dissatisfied? So you're going to have to find 2 factors. Okay, 2 factors where researchers are able to study, that researchers are able to study to try to find reasons why people are dissatisfied. So something about unhappiness or dissatisfaction, I think those should be your clues. Why some people are dissatisfied, why some people are unhappy. So which 2 factors are scientists studying? Okay, so let's take a look at the page where you can find this information. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, you should be able to find it here, I believe. Okay, so 1 minute. Let me repeat the question for you. What 2 factors, okay, what 2 factors are researchers able to study in their attempt to find reasons why some people are dissatisfied? What 2 factors can they study to try to find reasons why people are unhappy, in other words? Okay, so that's 1 minute up. If you're able to identify the 2 factors as money and inequality, I think you have got the answer right here. So researchers can investigate the impact of money and inequality, okay, to be able to find out why some people are unhappy or the source of dissatisfaction. Okay, so we can put the answer down in 3 words as money and inequality. Okay, again, let's get rid of these line numbers because they don't really matter here. Okay, 2 factors, money and inequality. So if you've identified correctly these 3 ideas, I think that would be fantastic. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's move on to what we are going to practice next, which is sentence completion. Okay, now this is slightly different from short answer questions in the sense that sentence completion, grammar is essential. Okay, you need to make sure that when you answer the question or when you complete the sentences, that your grammar is absolutely accurate. So even if you've got the answer right, but your grammar is all over the place, you will not be able to get 1 mark for that correct answer. Okay, now let's go through here the type of task for sentence completion. Now, in this kind of task, you need to complete sentences with words from the text. You will not be able to see questions. You just have to complete the sentences with appropriate words from the text. Try not to, okay, what I would suggest is don't get stuck on vocabulary that you don't know, because it may not be important. Like I said, it's essential that you try to guess the words from the context. Okay, if you've looked at previous IELTS listening or reading lessons, I think we have looked at certain strategies to employ to be able to do this. Okay, so make sure that you complete the sentences accurately with words from the text. And the type of task that this is that it's also a vocabulary test to check your understanding of synonyms and paraphrasing. Okay, and you will see the task type containing instructions like these. Complete these sentences with words from the text using no more than 3 words for each answer. So pretty much similar to what we've looked at before with short answer questions. Here we've got sentence completion also asking you to write no more than 3 words. However, you need to make sure that you complete the sentences with words from the text. What IELTS candidates normally tend to do, the ones who normally get the wrong answers, is that they try to find words that are not in the text, but synonyms from their own mind, and to put that down as the answer in the question or as a missing answer from the sentence. So try not to use your own words. Use the words from the text as clearly stated in the test paper question. Okay, so don't try to be adventurous. Even if your vocabulary is fantastic, you want to show them off, this is not the time or the place to do so. So 2 things you have to remember: words from the text as well as word limit. No more than 3 words, not 4, not 5, but 3 words for each answer. Okay, now we've got, we're going to take a look at some exercises related to synonyms and paraphrases, because what happens is that you will find synonyms in the question or certain words in the question, and you have to find the synonym in the text or a paraphrase in the text to answer this question or to complete the sentence. So let's take a look at a very quick exercise here to test whether or not you're able to use vocabulary correctly. Okay, now I've got here a list of questions, phrasing with these expressions. However, the answers are kind of mixed up or jumbled up. So they don't really correspond to the right question. Okay, so what I want you to focus on is to look at these words used in the question and to match them with the right synonym from the passage. Okay, so this is what you're going to have to do in the real test. This is how you strategize. You look at the words in the question, okay, and you try to find the synonyms that match exactly the words that you see in the question. You cannot find the exact words in the question from the text. That's not how it works. You have to find the right synonyms in the text to match the questions. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do this, and after 5 minutes we'll check to see if your answers are right. So it would be helpful for you to have your notebook and your pencil or pen ready to do this very quick activity? Okay, yeah, so 5 minutes to match them starting now. Okay, 5 minutes up, and hopefully you're able to identify the synonyms without even looking at the passage. I don't have the passage with me anyway, so you're going to have to rely completely on the vocabulary that you see in the questions to try to match the words in the passage. Okay, so let's try to do these things at random. For example, I'm just going to start with I think number 6, choosing the best location. Now, how do we know? First of all, what is the answer? The answer should be this one here, actually. Choosing the best location is, I think, the answer, the synonym to selecting the optimum site. So choose, we have select. Best, we have optimum. So you can see how this occurs with the words in the question and the matching synonyms from the passage. Okay, so number 6 is this one here. Now, number 5, barriers to the wind, such as. Okay, so barriers. Now, if you can synonymize or find the synonym to this word, which is obstructions, I think you have got the answer right. Okay, so barriers to the wind, such as. So that should be there. Let's move that away here. Obstructions like. So like has the same meaning as such as. Yeah, so obstructions such as, or barriers such as. So to the wind is something that's to do with the context of the passage. Okay, and then we have not to be built near. Sorry, I think there's a word there that's missing. Let's try to correct that, rectify that. Not to be built near. So what do you think the answer is? Let's move that away because that's not the answer. The answer should be this one here, away from. So we've got the opposite of near, which is away from, because we've got not near. So away from. So obviously you can see that the paraphrase is away from, or the synonym expression here would be away from. Okay. Number 3, it's energy output. What's another word for energy? Now, if you have identified the synonym for energy as power, you're absolutely right. So the power produced. Okay, so energy is power. Output has the same meaning as the word produced. Okay, and then we have number 1. Let's jump a little bit here. So I'm just totally randomizing my answer. Used to rely totally on. Used to rely totally on. And then we've got energy needs and with the aid of. Okay, we're trying to do this in the style of the process of elimination here. So what do you think would be the most appropriate answer for number 2? I would say energy needs could be entire electricity needs were met by. On the other hand, I would say that that is the first one. They used to rely totally on. That means the something were met by. So to rely on, they were met by. Okay, so just because you see the word needs here, you can see that it doesn't mean that this is the answer. So that's meant as a sort of a distraction for you. Okay, so don't fall into the trap of seeing, oh, right, so I see needs in the passage and needs in the question, so that must be the answer. No, it doesn't work that way. You're going to have to read the passage carefully to understand the context and to read the question phrase carefully as well to see whether the context of the word in the passage meets the context of the words in the question. Okay, so energy needs is another way of saying energy requirements. Okay. And I think through the process of elimination, we've got was used with the aid of, was used with, I suppose. Okay, so how did you do in your exercise? Did you get 7 out of 7? If you did, well done. Okay, so this would be how you would look at the question and the words in the passage. You're going to have to make sure that just because you see the same word in the passage and the same word in the question, that they match, that they are the that sentence or that answer matches the question. No, that is just a common trap in the IELTS reading test. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at some common problems that IELTS candidates tend to face. I think I have already told you before, a very common problem is students looking for matching words. So like I've shown you before in the example, just because you see needs in the question and you found the word needs in the answer, it does not mean that the question and the answer correspond. They don't. Okay, so that's one common problem. Do not fall into the trap of looking for matching words. The second problem in sentence completion is that students tend to write, or candidates tend to write too many words. They do not follow the instructions, because if they ask you, the instructions tell you to write 2 words, write exactly just that, or 1 word. If they ask you to write 3 words, write exactly just that, or less, but do not write too many words in the sentence. And number 3, a common problem is not writing the same words as in the passage. Now, if you look back at the instructions that I've shown you before, normally it tells you to complete the sentences with words from the text. So this is something that you're going to have to obey. You need to write the same words from the text. But the adventurous ones and the ones who tend to lose marks are the ones who do not write the same words as in the passage. Okay, so this is not the time for you to show off your vocabulary knowledge. Copy down exactly what you see from the text onto your answer. And the next most common mistake is that candidates tend to read the passage before they read the questions. Okay, so this is the type of task where you need to read the questions first before you do the answers. Okay, read the questions first and then try to find the synonym or the paraphrase that matches the word in the question. So very common problems. Are you guilty of doing any of these? So if you are, you're going to have to stop that habit, because it's not going to help you in the long run, or in the short run if you're doing your test next week. So be very careful not to make these mistakes when you do your IELTS reading test. Okay? Now, here's what you must do when you are given a sentence completion task. Make sure that you read the instructions very carefully. As I keep telling you again and again, how many words do you need to use or write? Do you need to copy words exactly from the passage, or are you allowed to just write down your own words? Quite often, I think in most cases, you have to copy the words from the text. Likewise, in the IELTS listening test, it would be a good idea for you to write down what you hear from the recording, and in the reading test, write down what you see from the passage and transfer that word or expression to your answer. Okay? Now, number 2, use the same words from the text. Again, I can't repeat this often enough. Same words from the text. Not words that you know, not synonyms that you know of, just the same words from the text. Okay, now is not the time to be adventurous. So, copy. This is the time when you're allowed to copy words from the text. Number 3, you need to know that the answers appear in the same order as in the passage. So the answer for number 1 appears maybe in the first 2 paragraphs of the passage. The answer for number 2 appears in the 3rd, 4th paragraph. So they kind of appear in the order, in the same order as the question. So there's no need for you to randomly jump around the passage from one paragraph to, from paragraph 6 to paragraph 3, from paragraph 7 to paragraph 1. There is no need for you to do that. You should be able to find the answers in the order that the questions appear in. Now, unlike short answer questions, in sentence completion tasks, grammar is absolutely important. You need to make sure that if the verb is singular, if the subject is singular, use a singular verb. If the subject is plural, use a plural verb. So look at the grammar. Do they, look at your tense, look at your verb. Are they consistent? Do they agree with each other? Okay, so getting the answer right does not only depend on whether you've identified the right word, but also whether your answer matches the context of the question. So pay attention to grammar. Now, number 5, look out for synonyms or paraphrases when you scan for answers. I think this was what we've done in the last exercise. Do not look out for the exact words from the question. Look out for synonyms or paraphrases or similar expressions from the words in the question to that in the text. Okay, so do not look out for exactly the same words in the question. They will not appear. Number 6, remember that you need to locate where you have found the answer for number 1, where you have found the answer for number 2, so that you don't have to run back and mark and look through the same paragraph over and over again. So make sure that you mark out the location in which you have found all your answers. If you need to go back to some of the earlier questions that you suspect may have been wrong, go back to that location in the text again to look for your answer. Okay, so number 7, finally, look at the questions before the text. Do not read the passage first. You do not have time for that. Look at the questions, find the answers in the text. Look at the questions, find the answers in the text. That's how you should strategize your reading to be able to do this effectively in the time frame that's given to you. Okay, now next we're going to take a look at the steps that you need to take to deal with this sort of task. First of all, I think, again, I can't stress this enough, look at the instructions and remember the word limit. Okay, copying words from the text, absolutely. No more than 3 words. Okay, remember that as well. Look at the sentence, number 2, look at the sentence in the question. Okay, before you look at the text, what kind of word do you think you'll need to have here? Would it be a noun? Would it be a verb? Do you need also a preposition after the verb, a phrasal verb? So predict the kind of word or expression that you'll need. Okay, but remember to make it no more than 3 words if that's what you're instructed to do. Number 3, predict possible synonyms and paraphrases. So before you even look at the passage, what possible answers could there be in that missing in that blank in that sentence? Okay, so try to guess the synonyms and the paraphrases. It's the same technique as IELTS listening. Before you listen to the recording, when you look through the questions, predict the sort of word or expression that you're going to hear. The sort of synonyms or paraphrases that you expect to read or hear in the recording. So it's the same technique. Okay, step number 4, find the section where you can get this answer. So as I've mentioned to you before, the sentence in the question appears in the same order as the answers in the text. So make sure that you are able to locate the section correctly where you feel that you can get this answer. Now go back to the question again. Read the sentence one more time. Are you Do you understand the sentence? Are you correctly interpreting the sentence? And then step number 6, look at the section in the text again more carefully and confirm your answer. Is this absolutely the right answer that leaves you no doubt for any second possible answer or third possible answer? So make sure that you look at the section in the text more carefully, confirm your answer, write down your answer. Step number 7, check your grammar, check your spelling, because even if you have identified the answer correctly, if you are missing one simple letter, if you are missing one simple verb like is, for example, you will get a 0. No arguments, a 0. So it helps for you to be very, very meticulous in writing down your answer. And make sure that your handwriting is also legible to your marker. So make sure that your L doesn't look like a T, make sure that your O doesn't look like an A, and so on. And then move on to the next question and repeat the same procedure. Okay, so these are the 8 necessary steps that you need to take when you deal with a sentence completion task. Okay, so try to use these techniques whenever you do this kind of task in your reading practice. Okay, now we are going to try to do a sentence completion task to make sure that you are able to apply what you've learned about what I've taught you here before. Okay, so let's take a look at an example task here. Sentence completion. Complete these sentences with words from the text, using no more than 3 words for each answer. So you're given 2 specific instructions here. Words from the text, not your own words. Yeah, remember that. Words from the text. No more than 3 words for each answer. So 2 things you have to follow. Okay, let's look at sentence number 4. Happiness represents something in the minds of people from Western countries. Okay, so we've got happiness, which is a keyword, and represents. Okay, so you might have to find a synonym for that in the text. In the minds of people from Western countries. So you're going to have to find the section where they talk about happiness from people in Western countries. Okay, so I'm going to show you the section in the text where you can find the answer, and I'm going to give you 1 minute to try to locate that information and to try to write it down on your piece of paper or on your notebook. Okay, so have you got your pen and paper ready? I think it helps for you to try to copy the sentence as well as we go along. Okay, so I'm going to show you the page now, or the passage. Okay, I think you should be able to find it here. One minute. Maybe I'll copy and paste the question, I think, for your convenience. Sorry, I'll just give you some extra time, okay? I think some people might be struggling with trying to find the words if they can't see the answer. Oops. Let's go back to where it was before. Right, I will be copying the answer, the sentence at the top. Okay, 1 minute again, starting now. Okay. Now, I've just looked back at my Facebook page and I see that some of you have commented on the answers. I think Sarah, is that you? Sarah, thank you so much for your comments. I think there's a sort of a delayed response or delayed streaming between what you've written and where I am at the moment. So if you are able to find the answers, if you're able to measure your answer against mine, that would be good. Okay, Sarah? So thank you so much. Just keep going with the exercise, and we'll check your answers as we go along. So anybody else, feel free to join in. Okay, so number 4, happiness represents what in the minds of people from Western countries? So if you're able to find a matching word, if you're lucky enough to be able to find a matching word here, which is Western countries. Let me just mark it down here. In individualistic Western countries, happiness is often seen. Seen would be another word for represents. Okay, so we've got Western countries and we've got happiness, which is the exact word here. Often seen as a reflection of personal achievement. Okay, reflection has the same meaning as in the minds of. Okay, so happiness represents what in the minds of people from Western countries? It represents, what do you think? Personal achievement. Okay, so the answer is in 2 words. So if you've put it down as personal achievement, well done. Okay, so let's just go back to the question here. Happiness represents personal achievement in the minds of people from Western countries. So let's put that down over here. Okay, let's again get rid of the line numbers here because we've already found it. Okay, now question 5. One of the implications of the Asian attitude is that being unhappy does not make individuals feel something. Okay, I'm just going to copy and paste that for your reference in a short while. Okay, so the key word here is implication, meaning results or consequences. Asian, so you have to find out something related to the Asian attitude and unhappiness. It doesn't make individuals feel what? So, where do you think you're able to find this? Okay, let's go back to the text. I've already copied this question here for your benefit. Let's go back to the section where you should be able to find the answer. So, we found the answer for question 4 here. So question 5 should be somewhere much later or after that. So you should be able to find it in this page or on this page. And, okay, hold on a second. Let me color that. Okay, so you're able to find the answer here. One of the implications of the Asian attitude is that being unhappy doesn't make individuals feel what? 1 minute to try to find this answer. Okay, so that minute is up. One of the implications of the Asian attitude. Okay, so we've talked about implications as having the same meaning as consequences. So we've got something here, consequences. Asian attitude, so we've got Asia here. Attitude over here. Is that being unhappy? So we've got being unhappy has something to do with not being very happy. Does not make individuals or people or you. Okay, so one of the consequences is that being unhappy doesn't make people feel what? Doesn't make people feel guilty or inferior. So we've got here feel, which matches this one here. So it does not make people feel inferior or guilty about not being very happy. Okay, so the words, the answer should be inferior or guilty. 3 words, no more. Okay, so if you've got the answer right, good, well done. Let's just go back to the answer and put it here correctly. Okay, and then the final sentence for today is number 6. An individual's level of satisfaction is partly determined by how closely they conform to their own what? Okay, so you have to look at the question carefully. Understand what it means first before you can identify the synonyms. Okay, so I'm going to show you the page where you should be able to find the answer. Okay, so we have found the answer for number 5 over here. So number 6 should be somewhere slightly later than that, or should come after that. Okay. All right, let me see if I can format this properly. Okay, an individual's level of satisfaction is partly determined by how closely they conform to their own what. So you need to find synonyms for level of satisfaction. Determined. Okay, conform. See if you can find the answer here. You should be able to find the answer on the same page. Okay. Right, 1 minute. Okay, so an individual's level of satisfaction is partly determined by what? How closely they conform to something. So, level of satisfaction, how satisfied a person is. I think I've just pointed you in the right direction. How satisfied a person is has the same meaning as an individual's level of satisfaction. Partly determined also depends on. Okay, determine has the same meaning as depends on. How closely or how successfully they conform to, they stick to, or they adhere to their own particular cultural standard. Okay, so the answer that you should have got or that you should have come up with is cultural standard. If you want to put particular cultural standard, that's fine as well, as long as it's within 3 words. Okay, so the answer is cultural standard. Let's go back to the question here and put the right answer down. Okay. Right, so if you've got all 3 answers right, well done. Okay, and I'm going to have to stop here now because I think we've run over time, past 10 minutes. So I hope you have found today's strategies and practice tasks useful, to apply to your own reading practice. So make sure that you stick to the steps that we've discussed earlier, and stay tuned for the next lesson, which we are going to have, I think, hopefully next week. And this time we're going to take a look at summary completion. So we've taken a look at short answer questions, we've taken a look at sentence completion, and in the next lesson we'll look at how to complete a summary properly in the IELTS reading test. Okay, so well done for those of you who have followed this lesson and stuck with it so far. Good on you, and I'll leave you here for now, so you have a good start to the week ahead, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Okay, take care. Bye-bye for now.